Today's guest is Meg Ann Ford, a fellow Richmonder. We are excited to have her on today's episode. Meg Ann is a passionate parenting coach. You can find her at bekindcoaching.com. Meg Ann helps parents connect with their children.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Earrings Off. We want to invite you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. You can find us on Facebook at Earrings Off Podcast and on Instagram at The Earrings Off Podcast.
Welcome to Earrings Off. Well. We have a special guest with us today. We have Meg Ann Ford, and I tell you, we are excited to have her with us. Meg Ann is a passionate parenting coach dedicated to helping parents connect with their children and discover their confidence in parenting. Okay, so Meg Ann, what is the CLEAR method and how does it help parents create better connections with their children?
I love this question, and I love talking about the CLEAR method. The CLEAR method stands for the 5 steps in which I go into every interaction. And I'm saying, like, with children, with my husband, even with my dog, the bank person, the person at the grocery store. It stands for the 5 steps in how I show up and navigate those social interactions. And it stands for connection, limit, empowerment, accountability, and recovery. And I think of those as like little lily pads, or like if I'm playing a video game, little steps to take to cross into building a strong connection. And so what that means is when I show up, I even did it when I came on here, right? I said, hey guys, thank you. First, I want to start with connection and saying, hey, thank you for patience. Thank you for excitement. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for going back and forth with me. I really appreciate it. Actually, that would be recovery, stepping then into connection, right? And then you, Lou, took it into the limits of our episode, the boundaries, the connections, the guardrails, as I call it, and then we stepped into empowerment. That's where we're at now. We're all living and jiving together, and following through the accountability. The next step from that would just be our outcome, which would be a really great podcast episode. And then we get to go like loop it back into that connection. So I hope that makes sense using just our real life interaction in that, because I discovered, created, kind of organized it because I started to feel overwhelmed in certain situations. And I noticed that my mind would go blank. I would get nervous. I would either get super irritated and lash out and react, or I would go quiet and stunned and not know what to say. And so I found it so helpful in my interactions as a teacher and with working with parents now, that if I can just focus on like, hey, my first step isn't to worry about the big picture. My first step is just to actually slow down and connect and trust that the next step is going to come.
I
And just
like
keep taking those steps.
Yeah. Okay.
That is awesome. I like it. Well, this next question, I have to start by saying I am particularly interested in the answer because I'm living it real time. But I must give a caveat with it because my child is 24 years old.
It's never too early and it's never too late.
So many parents feel overwhelmed by their children's behavior. What do you think is the root cause of this stress, and how can they begin to address it?
Oof, right. I'm sure that you've heard it. Children are our mirrors, right? Or every relationship is a mirror back to us. And it makes sense that when the person in front of you, who you care so deeply about, you have so much hope and joy and big emotions kind of tied up in it, when they're not meeting those expectations or behaving in a way that like you would do it, or that you see like, oh, actually like go down that path, not that one. It brings up big feelings in us, right? And so then we can start to, like I said before, we start to follow those big feelings that get us off track, right? And so noticing that those big behaviors create a big experience in me, and I can lean into the CLEAR method and just say, okay, well, first I need to connect to myself. I need to validate this is hard. Like I don't like this. I actually hate this. Independent of what they're doing, I can just focus on me and get myself back online, connect to myself, and then be like, oh, okay, they must be having a hard time. If they're doing that, they must not know. They must need help support. You know what? I can go in and saying all of the you statements. Well, you need to do this. You need to clean up. You need to make that call. You need to do that. Or I can say, wait, let me focus on me. That's something they can't argue with and say, hey, I need to know what's your plan for this.
I love
Hey,
that.
I need to know
I love
when are you
that.
going to do that? I need to know if you need support and
Yeah.
focus on those eyes. And then I can again focus
Yeah.
on connection, get into those limits, empowerment, accountability, recovery.
Oh my
I,
goodness, I wish I'd
I,
spoken to you 2 weeks ago.
yeah. Yeah. Or even last night would have been helpful. But anyway,
Yes.
love, love that. Love that. So, what are some of the most common mistakes parents make when dealing with tantrums and meltdowns, and how can they avoid them?
Mm. Tantrums and meltdowns, man. I'm gonna take a big deep breath before I engage with those. Right. The first is that we get lost in it. Right. It's like if we're swimming out in the ocean and we get overcome with the wave and we start taking in that salty water and we start choking on it and it's bitter and we
Ah,
start
I
spitting it
love
like
that
that.
analogy.
We get become overcome with it. Right. And then
Yeah.
when that happens, it's natural to kick into our survival mode to say, I need to stop the wave, right? Where really it's, I need to get up for air. I need to get up to take care again of me within the wave, within the ocean, find a life raft. And I think sometimes when those big emotions come up, if we were not supported by someone on a life raft, if we were supported on someone who was, when we were children, I'm speaking to,
Hmm.
if we were supported by that person who's trying to stop the wave, then that's our toolbox. That's what's instincts. That's what survival is. That's what feels normal. And it feels scary and overwhelming to be like, wait, I need to take care of me
Hmm.
first. I need to acknowledge my own overwhelm. I need to like step back and be like, whoop, I need to take a minute. I am overwhelmed and I don't like this,
Yeah.
to get back in. Because if that wave is coming, that tantrum meltdown, that means that your child is overwhelmed and they are in, I call it a white flag moment. They are waving a white flag saying, I need some help. I'm drowning here. And they are looking for you, your primary care source, to say,
Yeah.
hey, help me build a raft. And you can
Yeah.
only do that if you are on a raft.
Yeah.
Because if you're drowning and they're drowning,
Yeah.
everyone's just going to survive in the
Yeah.
drown. So focus and slowing down and getting that life raft,
Hmm.
getting yourself standing solid, slowing down, taking a breath,
Yeah.
limited words, softening the tone, soften, because this is not, it might feel like a threat, but we're okay. Kind of ground before we
Yeah.
enter into that.
I have to tell you, I love the way you explain that.
Mm,
I mean, because it makes it so clear and gives a clear example of how to respond. So thank you for that. Yeah.
yeah. And I think too, when we're in those moments, we look around to the people around us. And if we are not keen and knowing that, hey, is that person drowning giving me feedback and insights, or is that person on a raft? And like, who do I want to
Yeah.
be? Because we can start to
Right.
take in a lot of information, a lot of opinions, a lot of advice from people who are also drowning, trying to
Yeah.
stop the wave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
the wave is your
Yeah.
child, that harms the relationship,
Oh yeah.
right?
Right.
Your trust with the child's trust with you, and it can create a lot of friction. And I speak from my own experience of that was I'm number 4 of 5 kids, and uh, I was labeled the mistake. And that
Oh
was like,
wow.
that was what my siblings said. That was what the story was always told to me. I was the mistake. And my younger
Hmm.
sister was the one that came to keep me company.
Uh-huh.
And yeah,
Yes.
and man, did I live? I was like, cool, I'm the mistake. Great. I'm going to be the mistake at spelling. I don't know how to spell. I'm going to be the
Oh,
mistake at school. I'm going to be the mistake at home. I'm going to be the mistake everywhere I go, right? I started to internalize that
Yeah,
until
absolutely.
I was in my 20s and I had gone to school for child development psychology. I had been working in a classroom. I started this work when I was 18, working
mm-hmm.
with humans in a professional setting. I'm 41 now. So I
Mm-hmm.
have 24 years of growing
Mm-hmm.
this raft, right?
Uh-huh.
Uh, but I was 22, had finished school, was in a classroom, and I was like, wait, I've been taking on water from people who are drowning. And I called my mom up and I said, hey, I need a break. I can't do this.
Mm.
I spend so much time rebuilding myself after our interactions that I just need to take a moment. And that moment lasted 8 years
Wow.
Wow.
until she called us up to come to Christmas. My boyfriend, now husband at the time, said, "Hey, this is her white flag. We got to go." And let me tell you, I was engulfed in the flame immediately. I was like,
Hmm.
like I can't do
Yeah.
this. And I
Yeah.
finally, he was like, "I'm going to be there with you," right? Had the raft. He's like, "No, you're going to be okay. I'm going to be there with you. How long do you want to stay? What do you need? Because I'm not going to let you drown."
Wow.
We went. I noticed she was sick, and I was like, "Oh, she's sick." And then for some reason, I was nearing 30. I was more mature. I had gone to therapy. I had healed some of those wounds. I had built my own raft, and I could see, wow, she was drowning. And I took that opportunity to reconnect to her, step into
Wow.
recovery, step into repair, and say, "Hey, I see you now for who you are, the child who was also drowning with 5 kids. And I needed more than you had to give. That doesn't
Right.
make it
Right.
right. That doesn't make it
Right.
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 But I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
now see what it was, and now I can
Yeah.
have empathy and compassion because I was
Right.
I was on my own raft,
Right.
reconnected with her for three
Yeah.
months before she passed. And
Oh,
she
wow.
passed with so much peace. I went to her in the hospital and I said, "I forgive you, and I hope you forgive me too, and I love you." And she passed with so much peace. She's been gone now 12 years. And I think back to her this last week. I fell off my porch, hurt my ankle, dislocated it. I had to go in
Mm.
for a CT scan
Oh,
on
my.
Thursday.
Hmm.
There's a point here, but I have been feeling so many feels, unknown, scared, my own big feelings coming up. And I keep seeing cardinals. And I'm like, "Ah, cardinal, if you're not familiar, cardinals are signs,
Hmm.
some spiritual signs of people from the past." And I've been seeing cardinals, and I'm like, "Thanks, Mom, for coming, reassuring me." On Thursday, all day, I hadn't seen the cardinal, hadn't seen a sign from my mom. I say she comes and visits me every day. And I go to the CT scan and I'm rushing. I don't even have my purse. I'm rushing to sign in. And the woman goes, "Okay, let me call up to see if they're ready for you." And she goes, "Hi, this is Pam." My mom's name is Pamela. She goes, "Hi, this is Pam. Are you ready for Megan?" And I said, "Oh, can I tell you something? I've been waiting for my sign from my mom." And here she is. And there it was,
Wow.
my mom,
Yeah.
Pamela,
Yeah.
literally walked me up to get the CT scan, literally said, "Hey, girl, this is
Wow.
okay. I'm here with
Oh,
Yeah.
you,
wow.
and that's
Yeah.
okay." And that message can only land because I started to connect to myself. I started to know
Yeah.
my own boundaries. I stepped into my empowerment. I faced the accountability, and then I could step into that recovery repair mode.
You've just saved me a therapy session. Thank you. This is good stuff.
Very
How do
good.
you differentiate your approach from more traditional methods of discipline, and
Mm.
why do you think it's more effective?
Ugh. Traditional discipline and traditional methods focus on changing the child. How do I get them to do that? Why are they not doing it? What do I need to say? What kind of string do I need to pull? What sticker do I need to
Hmm.
give them? What treat do I need to give them? What threat
Hmm.
do I need to bribe them with? Prod them with? And what that does is that invites the child to automatically be on the defense. It's either going to have to be more, shinier, bigger, or harder the longer it happens. So my approach switches it and says, "I'm going to focus on the adult first." Right?
Hmm.
Switching from that you to the I. Let's focus on you. Let's build up your communication skills. Let's build up your structures. Let's build up your boundaries. Do you
Hmm.
like when they just run in and jump on you? Instead of sitting in that resentment of like, "How do I get them off my lap?" Say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't want anyone on my lap right now. You can sit next to me." Start
Yeah.
speaking that. I want to be close to you. I'm overwhelmed. I don't want you on my lap. I want you next to me. If
Yeah.
they're coming home late, you said 24. I'm going to assume that you dealt
Hmm.
with lateness, or
Yeah.
I'm going to say lateness of some sort, right? Instead of saying, "Hey, you need to be here on time," say, "Hey, I'm having a hard time going to sleep, not knowing where you are. We need a
Yeah.
plan.
Hmm.
Hmm.
What's your
Yeah.
ideas to get that
Yeah.
message to me?"
Yeah. Yeah.
It switches it. And as soon as
Right.
it switches it, they can't, it's hard to argue.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I was
love
with
that.
a 3-year-old the other day. She just got her tonsils taken out, and there was a woman who, another friend of the mom's came, and she said, "Hey, let me see where your tonsils are." And the little girl says, "I don't have tonsils." And the woman is saying, like, "No, but let me see where your tonsils are or were." No, she didn't say were. She said are. Like, she's trying to be silly, haha. But the
Yeah.
daughter is taking it literally, and she's like, "I don't have tonsils anymore." I said, "Psst, psst, say, show me where your tonsils used to be."
Uh-huh.
She goes, "Oh,
Yeah.
can you show me where your tonsils used to be?" And she goes, "Yep." Automatically opened her mouth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We switched
Yeah.
the question, we switched the
Yeah.
directive how it landed. The child's being honest. I don't have tonsils anymore. The adult
Yeah.
seems it as just let me see your throat,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But as soon as we switch the pitch,
Yeah.
now it's going to get a different result.
Right. 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 Wow. So, how does your community of parents support one another, and what role does shared experience
Mm.
play in overcoming parenting challenges?
This is a beautiful question. Was that one of mine? Because that's beautiful. uh,
It is a good one.
yeah, the community is such a beautiful place because I think when we are stuck in our own lane, in our own blinders, that is that is something that happens, you know, we can only see our own perspective. And when you're with a community just sharing stories, even the stories I've shared, right? It shows you maybe something that you've experienced, the
Mhm.
same feeling, the same experience, the same, emotions that pop up, but from a different angle. And you're like, oh, yep, that landed. It opens, it asks us to widen. So that's one part is that it widens the perspective, it
Mhm.
widens the
Mhm.
context. It's like, oh, wait, you're dealing with it in a different way, but yeah, it's the same. So it widens and it brings us like, oh, I'm not alone in it. I'm not stuck in it. They're not bad. I'm not bad. We're having this as part of it. And then the other part of it is that it shows beautiful connection of empathy. It says, oh, wow, that must have been so hard with you. I don't have to say, I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to agree with your child. I don't have to agree with the situation, but I can just be there with you so that you don't feel alone. A story that makes me think about this is I had a client who was at the grocery store Wegmans here.
Mhm. Mhm.
And her daughter was given a sticker, and her daughter didn't want this, or ripped the sticker. She ripped the sticker,
Mhm.
and her daughter was crying down, and the customer service woman was trying to give her another sticker, and the daughter was refusing the sticker, and she starts to see eyeballs from everybody else around, like, kind of like, why is that
Yeah.
child,
Yeah.
being over dramatic or being so
Yeah.
much? And she goes, you know what I did? I just visioned all of your guys' faces. What would they say? And they say, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be disappointed. You really like that sticker and you ripped it. And she's like, it quickly brought me back from, all those other eyes back into like a sense of safety in myself so
Yeah.
that I can be there with her. And I think
Yeah.
that's the power of like that community space, someone who's speaking the same language, having the same targets, knowing what you're doing, knowing the work,
Yeah.
the invisible work that you're
Yeah.
doing. It
Yeah.
kind of helps make that very threatening situation less scary.
What do you say to parents who feel like their kids just won't listen to them?
Yeah, I'll say, they probably are listening to you, not the way you want them to, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're listening to you. They listen to the tone of your voice. They know when they have to listen to you. They're going to wait. They're going to wait. They're going to wait
Mm-hmm.
until the 25th time that you said it, and that tone kind of dings, and they're like, oh, now I got to listen to him,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're going to listen when you've said you need to do this, or else, and that or else never happens. They're listening to you. They're like, I call your bluff. I call your bluff, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
listening to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the part there is we're so used to this two-step system, the limit and accountability, limit and accountability. I'm going to tell you what to do or invite you to do, and then hold you accountable to it. And that's where the clear method really comes in and softens. It's like, let's get on the same page. Let's make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you're listening. Let's make sure that we're
Mm-hmm.
locked in with each other,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
even as if it's simple like, hey, I've got something to share with you. Can you hear my voice? Making sure that they're listening and tapped in. Saying things like, hey, can you tell me back what I just said to you? Making sure that they're listening to you and
Mm-hmm.
then only saying it once.
Mm.
Only
Okay.
saying it once.
I
Wow.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Megan, lots of parents feel like, there are a lot of parenting tools out there, charts, books, and they're juggling so many things and they're doing everything right according to all the books, the resources. But some report that they still feel burnout and frustrated. So, what are they missing?
Oh, they're missing a method. They're missing a method. Parenting and mothers particularly, and I'm sure if you are both mothers and mothers are listening, I mean, women in general, the pink tags and all these other things that people use to market, but parents and stuff go hand in hand. People will sell you. People will make up a problem to sell you the solution, and then it
Yeah.
starts to ping in like, oh, I didn't even know that my kid did that. And then it's like, well, if my kid's doing that now, then I've got to stop them from doing it. I saw an app that was like, get your kids to do chores by, paying them money. And, and it hit on ADHD. It hit on the pain points. And there's so much icky residue in that, the shadowy side of it, right? But as soon as that
Hmm.
shadowy side of parenting gets kind of like illuminated, people will mark it to you. And and
Hmm.
I will say
And
relationship
may I just add, and we're vulnerable.
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
vulnerable,
Yeah.
right? And the
Right.
marketers know big bucks.
Yeah.
You're people will prey on that. They
Oh
Yeah.
do
yeah.
prey on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, let me buy this thing and that'll help me, fix the thing, right? Let me buy this thing, let
Hmm.
me fix the thing. I was on, this reminds me, same mom actually from Wegmans. We were had a book club meeting and she said, I have to share a win. My daughter, she was going in her play therapist. They have these little these little um, emotional stuffed animals. Like
Hmm.
happy is a stuffed animal, sad is a
Hmm.
stuffed animal, anger is a stuffed animal.
Yeah.
And they're playing, and she's like, I went and bought the same set, and I was able to use it with her today, and it really landed, and it felt so good that like she was able to teach me how to use these stuffed animals, and we were able to do it together, and that felt so good. We were able to really have a point of connection. And I said, wow, that's amazing. That I bet you that felt so good. Like this part that felt so scary to both of you, anger, disappointment, frustration. Now you have a bridge to it. And I said, I'm going to pause right now and I'm going to ask who on this call has gone to Amazon and put those stuffed animals in their Amazon cart.
Hmm.
There were like a few sheepish hands. I
Yeah.
said, you're going to go and you're going to remove them. You could do the same
Yeah.
thing with post-it notes. Do not buy the stuffed animals. You want to
Yeah.
know why the stuffed animal worked? Because the daughter had training from someone with the life raft to train the daughter how to use this tool. And the mother had a tool and training on how to use the tool. And they were able to come together and use the tool together. You can do the same thing with the stuffed animals in your house. You can do the same thing with a post-it note labeled
Yeah.
anger. You could do the same thing with your fingers.
Yeah.
You don't need
Yeah.
anything. She's
Yeah.
sharing the experience that they were able to use this tool that they both had training in, but you look for the training, look for the understanding, look for the skill, and then the
Hmm.
skill can be applied to anything.
Right.
But don't, and they were like, "Oh, you're right." And they all took it out of their carts. But I was like, "But that's it, right?" They're like, "Oh, wow, you had a connection with your child. I want that connection too with my child." Versus saying, hey, you found a way to feel safe in anger. I want to feel safe in anger
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
this
Excellent.
advice, this information that you're sharing is so good. I'm just really sad that this conversation is coming to an end. So we've
Mm.
reached the last of our questions. Are there any parting words you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I think I will end just as I started by saying it's never too late and it's never too early, right? When I share the story of my mom, even in her
Yes.
final moments, I was in my 30s and was able
Yeah.
to find that peace back, right? I
Yes.
could have thought like, oh, 30 years is too long, but I was able to reclaim that for me.
Hmm.
And so anyone listening who might have that stressful relationship, I'm not saying that you should go and forgive the people who have
Hmm.
caused you
Hmm.
harm.
Hmm.
I'm saying that that piece is available for you. And once it's available for you, then it's available for your child.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if
Okay.
you need help and support, and if you want to get into my communities and spaces of support, you can find me at bekindcoaching.com.
Okay. Wow.
I love that.
Well, again, thank you so much for being with us here today, Megan. We have enjoyed the conversation and we know absolutely that you have helped our audience. So thanks. We wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Lou and Teresa.
Take care.